Hello, my lovely ladies, and welcome to this episode of Coach Cariss, Itchy, Bitchy and Guests podcast. Welcome. Today I would like to chat to you about why lifting heavier weights at 52 than you did when you were 25, or maybe you didn't lift weights when you were 25. I certainly didn't lift weights when I was 25. Why it is cool. All right, so there's been a lot of stuff going through my head in the last week or so. A lot of emotions, right? If you follow me on the socials, you'll have seen that I am documenting my journey as when I'm moving home. If I mentioned that I'm moving home, literally that is all I'm talking about. It is all consuming. All right, but I've obviously been walking about and packing up my house and humping boxes and lifting shit from one room to the other. Do you know, and it does make you realise that I am way fitter, way healthier, and way stronger at 52 than I ever was in my 20s and my 30s. Yet, when I was in my 20s and in my 30s, I thought 52 was ancient. So, anyway, just going to talk you through this because you all know my thoughts on weightlifting, and well, I think everybody should do CrossFit, but I realise that's not for everybody. But everybody, all midlife women, all women should be lifting weights, definitely, right? But so I've always done some kind of fitness. When I was in my 20s, I used to sporadically go to the gym and run. When I was in my 30s, I used to probably not go to the gym and run. When I was in my late 30s and early 40s, I got into kettlebells, and that was probably my first foray into lifting weights. And the reason that I started doing kettlebells is because I'd hurt my back. I had a really bad bout of sciatica, touch wood, the only bout I've ever had in my entire life. And somebody suggested that I needed to lift weights. Didn't know anything about it at that point. Anyway, so I ended up lifting kettlebells, because remember, strength training, it's not just about a barbell. It can be about kettlebells and dumbbells. And if you're just starting out on your fitness journey, strength training can be classed as body weight exercises. So don't think that when you first start out, you need to get fit before you join the exercise class or get strong. You just actually need to go along. Right, anyway, so when I was working out in my 20s and my 30s, and probably even my 40s as well, it was never about getting strong. Never. It was about two things, actually. It was about getting skinny, which actually I never managed to do. So probably been on a diet for 30 years, never managed to shift weight, just got a wee bit fatter and a wee bit fatter. But now I understand it's because I never sorted my diet out. Obviously, I was trying to out-train a bad diet. But so it was always about that, and it was always about fear of judgment, I think, probably. So, like, people judging me because I was fat, right? And I was fat, right? And there's a lot of shit out there. There's a lot of bloody victimness about there. You can't call me fat. No, right? Well, do you know, right, I was fat, pretty much, all right? I mean, I was pushing a size 20. So in my head, right, I prefer to call myself, let me just clarify that, all right? I prefer to say that I was fat, right? So I felt if I was fat, but I was exercising, people could judge me less, because obviously in my 20s and my 30s and my 40s, actually, for most of my 40s, I was very concerned about what people thought about me. Very concerned. In fact, probably cripplingly so. And it's just not worth it. But anyway, it was all about getting skinny, which I never managed to do. And it was all about people judging me. And I probably managed to never stop that neither. But I've just realised now that you just need to not care. Anyway, so fast forward to today, right? Have I mentioned that I'm moving house? I'm 52. Peri-meno, full peri-meno, all right? But symptoms manageable and under control, partly because of HRT, partly because I'm looking after myself. So on the 29th of May, Karl, me, and Jasper were handing over the keys to our dream home, because this is our dream home, all right? And if you don't know the story, go and listen. Do me a favour, go and listen to episode 100. It's quite a good one, actually, if I say so myself. Anyway, right, I am literally surrounded by boxes. And it just made me realise, right, that I got into CrossFit. I'm not really sure why I got into CrossFit. Anyway, I just liked it. I liked being in a room with other people when everybody was at different levels. So everybody was doing the workout, but everybody else was at different. We were all at our own little levels. So some people were lifting like 50 kilos, some were lifting 60, some could climb ropes, some couldn't, some could hang on a bar, some couldn't. There was just lots of different things. And that's why I liked it. I like being with other people. I'm quite a sociable wee buddy. Anyway, I certainly didn't start lifting weights and do CrossFit to look good in a bikini. But it is a side effect, right? Because like, I think if anybody that says they don't want to look good naked, right, is a liar. 100%. You just need to watch American Beauty with Kevin Spacey. That is one of my favourite films, by the way, because he's a shallow bastard in it, but I think he plays the character very well. Anyway, he just wants to look good naked, right? So show me somebody that says they don't want to look good naked and I'll show you a liar, I think, right? Anyway, it's a side effect, all right? And it's not necessarily because of the shape of your body, right? Anybody can look good in a bikini. It's about your inner confidence. Literally, you've got a body. Literally put a bikini on it. You've got your bikini body, all right? But it's about your confidence. It's about owning it. It's about actually giving zero fucks, right? It's a side effect. Anyway, I specifically lift heavy weights, which I don't enjoy. I don't like a barbell, right? But I specifically lift heavy weights so that I am physically capable of living my life, right? And because we're moving house, I have just chosen the biggest, boldest life that is going to work for me and Karl and Jasper. So lifting weights gives me freedom, I would say, more than anything. So I choose to train for the capability, for what my body can do, not as a punishment. Excuse me, we'll have a slurp of tea. Not as a punishment for what I'm going to eat or what I have eaten. Right, in midlife, there are so many transitions going on, right? First of all, I often wonder how the fuck we can get to this age and not actually know what the peri-meno is. Like, we don't actually know how our body is going to react. I literally thought I would get a wee hot flash, a wee night sweat, and it would be a scoosh. I remember sitting on the sofa saying to Karl, I think I'm perimenopausal. And him saying to me, you need to go to the doctor. And me saying, I know, but it'll be cool. It'll just last for 6 months and I'll just do it without HRT and it'll be awesome. 3 months later, honestly, if liquid morphine had been on offer, I would have took that. Anyway, right? It's mental. We just get to this age, and even it's better now, obviously, because everybody's speaking about it and stuff, right? But there's stuff goes on, like there's just loads of stuff going on in our life, right? We move house. We are moving house, right? And everybody moves house. But your parents are getting ill. If you're lucky enough to have your parents here, right? Your parents are getting elderly as well. So there's a lot of care, a lot of appointments, just a lot of stuff that you haven't had to deal with before. A lot of you still have teenage children, so you've still got kids that need looking after as well, right? And then on top of that, you've got the mental load of your own life, like your work promotions, seeing your friends, catching up with everybody. And on top of that, you've got dealing with your peri-meno symptoms, right? Which is just like mental. And also I think we have a lot of guilt because we think that by this age we should be able to do anything. We should be able to manage anything, right? And actually it can be one of the most overwhelming times of your life, and we guilt ourselves because we think that we're just not managing, right? And it's just pish. So lifting weights, build your confidence because it lets you realise that you're actually stronger than you think you are and that you're not fragile. So physically wise, I can lift the boxes. Of course I can, right? I can I'm not even going to have to load the van because we've got removal men coming. for the first time ever, by the way, and all the times that I've moved house. So I feel like a bit of a grown-up. But, you know, we're still going to have to fill the cars and stuff with boxes and the random shit that you didn't want the removal men to have or see or whatever. Or the last minute bits and bobs, like the kettles and the mugs and stuff like that. So it's just about, like, it's not... so that you don't have to rely constantly on other people. Do you know, I can lift my own shopping. I can go to B&Q and buy, I don't know, whatever I need to buy, wood, and I can carry it myself. It's just like, it's just mental. It's like a midlife. I suppose it's like an insurance policy. Do you know what I mean? Like muscle. We need muscle, ladies. We definitely do, right? And then there's all the, when you're actually in the gym, right, in front of the barbell, there's like, you're standing over the barbell. I don't like a barbell, right? I am an actual boot camp. I'm a boot camper at heart. Definitely. Give me burpees, give me sprints, give me shuttle runs, give me a wee dumbbell, give me a kettlebell. Definitely, right? I do not dig a barbell, but I coach it, so I have to do it. I have to be able to walk the walk if I'm going to talk the talk, right? But also, I can't remember what I was going to say there. See, brain fog. This is hilarious. Anyway, right. When you're standing over a heavy barbell and your brain is telling you didn't sleep last night, don't even try to lift it. Or you could just coach today and not do the training because you just feel like shit. Right, you haven't slept, your hormones are all over the place, your joints hurt, your bones hurt, you've got anxiety, you're in the middle of moving house. When you're doing all of that and you're still fighting against it because you know that you actually have to lift that barbell, right? There's a mental resilience going on there that I don't think you'll get if you don't continually push yourself, right? If you just continually give in and don't put yourself in uncomfortable positions, you're effectively shortening what you see of the world, and you're shortening your life. Really, you're just getting more insular, like your world's getting smaller and smaller and smaller, right? And yes, we're midlife, and yes, we're like 50 or whatever, right? But we've got another 30 years on this planet. So if you make your world smaller and smaller and smaller, right, because you're scared or because it feels uncomfortable or because it's difficult, you're just not, you're not even living. You're just like existing. It's just bollocks. Anyway, can I tie this into moving house? Because I don't think I've mentioned it enough. Yes, of course I can, right? So we're walking away from our dream house, right? It's lovely. It's beautiful. Everybody that comes into the house says it's gorgeous, right? And it is. It's lovely, but it's huge, right? We're literally rattling about in it. It's the ceilings. It's a typical Victorian house, right? The rooms are big. They're spacious. The ceilings are tall. And it's a really long house. Like you walk in the front door and it just goes on for like ever and ever and ever. There's 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a kitchen that's got a gigantic dining table in it. And it's just too big for us, right? But so we're selling it to choose a smaller home, but not necessarily a smaller life. So I'm on Substack, by the way. So if you prefer to read about this journey, as opposed to listen, you should find me on Substack as the 58 Project, because my dad died at 58, right? And that was the instigator. So we're going for a freer life, so more freedom in our life. And it's a bit like standing in front of that barbell and not wanting to lift it off the floor. It's taken a lot of mental strength, and it's taken a lot of mental grit. And obviously that strength, it didn't appear from nowhere. Like I didn't just hope one day. I didn't just wake up and go, I hope I can sell the big house and get the little house and it'll give us more freedom, right? This has been a plan for, years. My dad died 21 years ago. But specifically, it's been a plan. Now, I spoke to Karl about this when we first got together, which was 12 years ago. And then he always said, wait till I'm 50. So when I met Karl was chasing a career. As far as I'm concerned, I'd had my career, right? But Karl was chasing management, and so that's obviously cool. But he always said, wait till I'm 50. So And it's literally taken us 2 years, he's 52 now, to get it into place and to get to the stage that we're at. But we've been speaking about it for years. So that's the strength, the mental resilience, right? That was all built in CrossFit. And that might sound like slightly dramatic, but it was. CrossFit is the one thing in my life that has shown me that there are so many things out there that I didn't think that I could do that I can. Just because it needs to be the right environment. You've got to have the right support, like the fellow CrossFitters and stuff like that. But again, that builds your confidence and that puts you continually into situations that you don't think you're ever going to manage. Obviously, there's been other shit, like a shitty marriage prior to that, etc. And you always think that when you're in it, you think that you'll never actually get out of it or life will never get better. But even hitting the peri-meno, I remember sitting in my office one day thinking, what the fuck have I done? I've retrained as a fitness instructor. I then retrained as a CrossFit instructor. I'm an online coach, which was all new. That was a massive learning curve. And I remember sitting in front of my laptop one day thinking, I have made an epic mistake. Like, this is my life now. I don't know what I'm doing. I can't do this. I just can't do it. And it wasn't any of that. It was the fucking peri-meno and all the anxiety. Anyway, you can, ladies, you can do anything at all. So we are doing all of this. Again, if you haven't heard this story, it's on my socials. Been on my socials all this week, and I'm going to speak about it next week as well. And the 58 project on Substack, right, is specifically the story about why we are doing this and what my life has been like pretty much since my dad died at 58, which was 21 years ago. And my dad, he never got his retirement. So my dad was in the army when he was younger. I was an army bear and we travelled about quite a lot. And him and my mum bought their dream home about 35 years ago. And that should have been the home that they were in forever. But my mum's been in it on her own for the last 21 years. My mum moves at the end of June. This is another story, all right? But he never got his retirement. I mean, he had a good life. Don't get me wrong. They had an epic life. My childhood was like amazing. My mum and dad are just fantastic. But ultimately, he didn't get his retirement and he didn't get the chance to spend the time in the house that they'd renovated and that they'd done up, and they didn't get the chance to do that, right? So I'm 6 years away from the age my dad was when he died. And it's constantly in the back of my head that I don't know if I'm going to get to 58, right? Now, my dad died of a pulmonary aneurysm, right? And it was predominantly because he smoked, right? He didn't really do any exercise. He walked a lot, which is obviously cool, but he did smoke, right? And he had smoked 20 a day from when he was 17 and he died at 58, right? So he hardly drank and his diet was fine. So it does cross my mind every now and again. It's like a low-level hum, a low-level anxiety that I'm actually not going to make it to 58. So me keeping myself fit and lifting weights and is me doing everything that I can. Do you know, I eat fairly well, hardly drink any alcohol. I don't smoke anymore. Probably should have stopped. That was another thing. I never actually stopped smoking when my dad died. I think I just went into rebel phase. Anyway, now I'm like, fuck. So yeah, I don't know if I'm going to get there. I don't know if I'm going to get to 58, but none of us do. Do you know, you could literally walk out the front door and get knocked down by a bus tomorrow. You just don't know. You just have to do whatever you can, right? So I'm doing whatever I can. But I'm certainly not going to spend the next 6 years or the rest of my life feeling like a weak-ass bitch because I'm not lifting weights. I'm not going to sit on the sofa and feel lethargic and tired because I'm not moving. And I'm not going to feel restricted by a body that I haven't looked after, even though there are times in my life that I haven't looked after it. But I am consistently looking after it now and have been for a good while now. So I'm not going to be restricted by that. But I want to build a body that can say yes to every single future adventure that is going to come. And that those adventures start with me and Karl and Jasper giving up the keys to our dream home and collecting the keys to our smaller kingdom. It is very exciting. My challenge, ladies, to you this week, right, is to look at your movement, look at what you're doing and why you're doing it, right? Are you still training to punish your body for what you ate yesterday or for what you're going to eat tomorrow? Because if you are, that is not cool, all right? I want you to train to build a body that can carry you through the next 30 years with strength, with resilience, with power, and with autonomy. Yes, I read that. There's no way I would remember those 4 words. All right. You are all very well educated women, right? You all have wisdom, you all have life experience. So I need you to let go of this 80s and 90s bullshit that you might still be telling yourself about needing the flatter tummy, needing the thigh gap, needing the arms to not wobble, right? Nobody fucking cares. I need you to get your arse into the gym and get some weights lifted, because later life is not guaranteed. All right. Also, like I said, if you fancy hearing the full story, you can go on my Insta. I have been quite honest with sharing it. You can also go onto Substack, which is just like a little mini journal called the 58 Project, right? It's a bit unfiltered. I think I'm pretty unfiltered anyway, to be fair. But it's currently, this week and next week, is going to be about us moving house, obviously. But it's also about CrossFit. It's about family. It's about my why. It's about peri-meno. It's about, I suppose I am who I am today because of that girl that was in her 20s and her 30s, drinking 2 bottles of wine one night, running a half marathon distance the day after as punishment, because I thought that if I was fat and fit, nobody would judge me, when you actually realise that you just need to give 0 fucks. All right, ladies, get your peachy asses in the gym. Speak to you all soon. Bye.